republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, approval of agenda. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Okay, Mr. President, I would move that we approve the agenda as presented with the following amendments. Adding item E5C, consider approval of list number 4 for student exemptions to participate in remote learning.
Motion by Mark. Second.
Second.
Motion by Mark, second by Laura. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion. Okay. Delegation public comments? None? Okay, great. Any correspondence? Right now, due to a conflict of interest, I need to recuse myself from the consent agenda. Mark?
Okay. Well, if that's the case, then I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, a motion and second to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Not hearing any. I guess all in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Be so kind as to.
Shouldn't we just leave them out there?
Gavel back to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Okay, board goals update, 1.1, post-secondary success report. Mr. Sullivan's time.
Yeah. So, Mr. Sullivan and I are going to present some data for our district post-secondary success progress. I will go through, we'll have a few slides that include some of the kind of statewide numbers, district numbers, and then Garden City High School numbers. And then we'll kind of talk about some of the factors that we are hoping will move the needle for us at Garden City High School, and then I think Mr. Sullivan is going to share some of the data for the Garden City Achieve. Do you see Achieve? Yeah,
Garden City Achieve? Okay.
Very good, yeah.
All right. First slide is just kind of some of the statewide data. I know that many of you on the board are already familiar with the way this kind of works. But just a reminder, the data lags by 2 years. The state of Kansas tracks how these graduates do 2 years after they graduate from us. And so the most recent data we have is from the graduating class of 2019, which is the last non-COVID class. The grad rate is pretty straightforward. It is the number of grads, number of 4-year graduates divided by the number that started in that cohort group. The success rate that we'll talk about is defined as it's when a student meets one of the following 4 criteria. One of those is achieving a industry recognized certification while in high school. Another one is earning a post-secondary certificate, so after they leave us, earning a certificate. Another one is earning a post-secondary degree in that first 2 years. And then the other way that they can demonstrate that success is enrolling in a post-secondary program in both the first and second year following graduation. So that is success rate. And to note here, it does not count military. Military is not included in these numbers. And then the last kind of term we'll go through is the effective rate. That is the graduation rate divided by, multiplied by the success rate. State goal, I believe, in the next 3 years is to be up to a 60% effective rate. As you can see there, the state's 5-year effective average, so averaging the effective rates of the last 4 years or 5 years is right at 40% or 48%. Some of our district data here, this averages in Garden City High School and Garden City Achieve. As you can see down here in the lower corner here, the 95% confidence interval, basically that's where the state predicts that we as a district would achieve based on our, accounting for our risk factors as a district. So the state predicts that we would be somewhere between 33 and 38% on our effectiveness rate, and our most recent data shows us at 39% as a district. So just a step above basically where they predict us to be, again, given those risk factors. We know that it is a team effort between Garden City Achieve and Garden City High School. They're all our students. I can speak for Garden City High School that we're really excited, with Mr. Sullivan taking over and some of the new things happening over there. And our students are taking some auto classes on their campus, and I think that's going really well so far. And I know he's going to talk a little bit about the auto program. So we really hope, to be able to move the needle with the help of Garden City Achieve here in the next couple of years.
Could I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
I apologize
Yeah, jump in.
for doing that. But it just was notable to me, the range of 33 to 38.6 that the state estimates. That's a pretty wide estimate.
Right.
And we're even above that. So, I mean, why do they give such a big range? Is it just because they're still trying to figure out the variables, or?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know it's, I think it's a statistical thing. It can, that 95% confidence interval can fall anywhere in between, or in that range. Dr. Farland, I don't know if you know much more about that success.
It's probably a side note thing, but I was just questioning,
Yeah.
because it's great to be outside of that, on the high side, and I just was wondering why it was such a big range. So it's just a statistical thing?
Yeah, and we're proud, that we're on the outside of that range too. The thing, one of our challenge here is it stayed pretty even there, and that's why I hope that some of the new things that we're doing in partnership with the Garden City Achieve, and then also, the counselors are going to talk here in a little bit after I talk about some of the awesome things that are happening there that we've implemented in the last 2 years. That hopefully we see the needle starting to move a little bit on that effectiveness rate. You bet. Okay, some of the Garden City High School data. I apologize on this slide. It's a little bit in your packet. I think you maybe received these slides I had the wrong slide, it was 2018 was the last data point we had there. So this is the updated one. The numbers from 2018, 2019 for Garden City High School are just about identical. We are at 48% effective rate, which is right about where the state is performing. Again, like I mentioned, this data is for our last non-COVID class. We're excited. We've learned that our graduation rate for last year's class bumped up another 0.1%, so we're at 90.4% now at Garden City High School. It was 90.3 for the class of 2020. So we feel like that's going in the right direction. We know that a byproduct of COVID, we've already seen the numbers. We have less students enrolling in four-year institutions. Community college and technical school number, 2-year institutions, that's pretty steady according to clearinghouse data. But we know that we have less students the last 2 years enrolling in four-year institutions. So we're going to need to bump up the graduation rate to keep that effective rate on an upward trend. So in keeping with our goal of producing contributing citizens, you're going to hear a little bit more, not so much tonight, but you're going to start hearing the term market value assets. We are researching this. We're kind of in year 0 at Garden City High School as far as implementing this goes. But basically it is tracking. We're doing all these great things, but it's really hard for us to track. We're going to start tracking how many of our graduates graduate with at least some kind of work-based experience, some kind of industry recognized certification, taking dual credit classes, civic engagement, all those things. We're going to start tracking that. We're going to try to ensure that 100% of our students graduate with one of those market value assets that makes them more employable after they leave us. So you're going to hear a lot more about that. I'm not going to harp on that. We could talk for an hour about that. But I do want to highlight before I switch slides the certification opportunities we have that we've had students, recently take advantage of. I'm just going to list them. We have OSHA 10 certifications, ServSafe, PostStart. Those two are with our culinary program. We have students earning their certified nurse aid, their certified medication aid, an AWS welding certification, MOUSE, which is Microsoft Office User Specialist certifications, CPR, first aid, AED. That's just kind of a sampling of the certifications that our students earn on a regular basis at Garden City High School.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
In those certifications, let's say I got a CPR certification. If I only achieve that, would I be considered as successful with the post-secondary? Would I be counted as someone who achieved post-secondary?
I believe so.
So, you see where I'm headed with this.
The varying degrees
CPR
of
certification is really a skill that's going to make me employable. So when we look at what percentage of our kids are achieving post-secondary success rates, if I'm counted as achieving that success because I have a CPR certification, I'm not really sure I should have been included in those numbers.
Dr. Hannigan, we need to check that.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
Those certifications have to be state approved, so it's not just any certification. This metric is defined by the Kansas State Board of Education. And I don't know the answer to that for sure, but I would speculate that a CPR certification would probably not count towards this. I think even the OSHA 10, I don't even think that one counts. And we were concerned about that because that was one that is kind of a precursor to a lot of trade type programs. And we were questioning why that one wouldn't count. So I'd be surprised if CPR would count, but we'll do a little digging.
My point, though, is that we're making the effort to delineate between certificates that are precursors to successful post-secondary achievement versus certificates being counted as actual achievement. And I see, to me, a lot of those certificates, they're a great start, but I don't necessarily think they should be included in.
Yeah,
our
they might not,
metrics.
we'll do some research. Yeah, I was just
And
wondering.
I'm only trying to clarify for myself.
Totally understand.
I'm not trying to change how they count things.
Yeah.
I'm actually just trying to get a realistic idea based on how you're actually counting people, where we're at. That's
Gotcha.
it.
Yeah, I understand. Thank you. Okay.
So we're just gonna kind of go through and highlight some of these contributing factors. First of all, staff and students. I think that at Garden City High School and at Garden City Chief, we kind of wrap these students in support and experiences, and we hope kind of cocoon. We hope that when they leave us, they fly. But it starts with I really do believe that we have a student body that by and large wants to be successful. A lot of them require a lot more support than others, but it does start with the students, and then our staff also. They embrace our risk factors and our challenges, and roll up their sleeves every day. And again, you're going to hear from the counselors here pretty soon. They for sure play a pivotal role. But as we recover from a couple of disruptive years, at Garden City High School, we've really changed the focus this year, and we're trying to raise the level of expectations for students. That's both behavioral, academic. You're also hearing about the new teacher project trainings that we're having in Garden City. And, part of the whole idea there is to provide on-grade level curriculum and providing the just-in-time supports for those that need it. But raising that level of expectation, we've done behaviorally. Have a few points of emphasis this year at Garden City High School that we've been really consistent with, and we're hoping again that makes our students more employable and more productive when they leave us. Student support, we have added upper level offerings. We continue to work with Garden City Community College to expand those opportunities. And Dr. Hannigan was involved a few years ago with his daughters. We have dual credit calc and dual credit college statistics now offered on our campus. Before that, college algebra was the highest level math that we offered. We also have lots of tutoring support. We have after-school tutoring available most days of the week. We have added Saturday mornings this year from 7 to 10 o'clock in the morning. We also have, as a district, purchased access to the Tutor Me app, where they go online and get support from a live tutor over the internet. We also have great veteran special education staff at Garden City High School, ESL staff, that provide lots and lots of services for our kids. You guys have seen, I'm sure, Garden City High School, 22 different languages spoken in homes this year, students born in 32 different countries. And so it doesn't just happen where those students go on to be successful when they leave us. Social emotional support. We had a school-wide focus on self-regulation last year, and we'll have that focus again this year. We've also expanded our work-based learning opportunities, and again, that's going to fit in there with the market value assets. Ms. Hanlon and the rest of the council and staff worked really hard to expand those opportunities for students this year. If my count is correct, I believe we have 57 students now working or enrolled in the work-based learning class. And that's a big expansion. Just last year, it was a handful. And so we're really excited about that. And again, how that experience is going to translate into post-secondary success when they leave us. We have shadowing opportunities in several of our classes. You guys are familiar with Buffalo Coffee Shop. That's been expanded in our special education department this year to a copy center, the Southwestern Copy Center. So those are all good work-based experiences for our kids. Leadership opportunities, we have several advisory councils. We have Mr. Nordby's principals advisory, we have a freshman advisory now, an athletics advisory. We also have the peer leadership class, again, with the Buffalo Coffee Shop, where those students are going in and serving as leaders in the coffee shop setting. Of course, we have SUCO, so I have 2 full sections of SUCO. They just combined the homecoming week activities and the dance, and that was a lot of fun. Our Jobs for American Graduates program, I know Mr. Sullivan talked a little bit about that, but that's another opportunity for our students to lead. College visits, they started. We had students going and visiting colleges last week, both through the Career Center and through our AVID class. College planning conferences, College Application Month, I believe, is this month. Apply Kansas. Then again, with our individual plans of study, I know you guys have heard about that over the last several years. We continue to improve this process, which is a challenge for a school our size, but we feel good about the progress we made and where we're headed with that, and that work is going to begin this month really heavily over the next 5 months. Just saw a calendar of the activities last week, and it looks pretty great. All right, one more slide. Sorry, Lucas. Another program that you guys may be familiar with, Communities and Schools. We have a full-time dedicated Communities and Schools advisor that serves as a link between the community resources in Garden City and our students at the high school that need it. These are both short-term services that they need right now and also long-term support. Our JAG class, again, 35 to 45 students each year. They work on employability competencies, employer connections, post-secondary placement services, and they also have a component where they follow up with the students up to 12 months after they leave us. We're also really proud and excited about our ongoing relationship with Garden City Community College. For me, it's exposing those kids. You know, when we built the high school, we tried to get all of our classes to be offered on Garden City High School campus, which is great because then, you know, we have an equity solution there, and also we don't have the issue with students traveling and safety. But we do still have students traveling to Garden City Community College for classes, and I think that's important because there's a little bit of a difference. Being familiar with the campus and the staff on our campus, I think, helps to ensure that they're going to enroll in the second year after they leave us. We're adding more and more every year. This year, we had 240 students enroll in at least one class. I'm talking about in the fall, our current semester. 240 students enrolled in 468 classes, 24 different classes right now that our students are enrolled in for dual credit through Garden City Community College. And also, I learned last week that there are some discussions about adding a college skills and development class for dual credit, which again I think is going to help move the needle as far as our effective rate goes. Roughly 2/3 of our students, who leave here that are college bound, enroll at Garden City Community College, and so we're really excited about that partnership, and it continues to improve. We also have, kind of going out of order here, sorry, mentoring activities. We have more and more students serving as mentors for elementary age students through Big Brothers Big Sisters. We have roughly 30 students traveling to elementary schools this semester, mentoring young people. And so again, I think that that is very, very valuable. Not only does it show leadership, but it also provides a networking opportunity. I know a lot of times one of those students does really well, and someone at that elementary school starts talking to them about becoming a teacher. So that's really great. And then the last thing, I know you guys are very familiar with AVID, but just again, it really does help us. That program targets first-generation college students. We use the strategies, those academic strategies school-wide, And, again, I already talked, a little bit about, the college visits. Those students go and actually, step foot as first-generation college students on those campuses and get a chance to interact, with the staff and students, so. That's all I do. All right. Is that it?
Thank you, Rob.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Again, my name's Lucas Sullivan, principal at Garden City Chief. Talk a little bit about our data and our post-secondary success. Here just last week, this is an automotive class, and we had a speaker from the community coming in and talking to our kids about those opportunities, job opportunities in the community. Obviously, our numbers are not where I want them to be, and so I talked to so many of our kids at our building, and we have a number of at-risk students. A lot of times there may be students that have fallen behind at the high school, and they're able to catch up in our building because of the ingenuity, how our quarter schedule, our 90-minute blocks. So I talked to so many of our kids, and they all say, I'm like, what's your goal? Well, I want to get my diploma and get done. Well, that's great, but then what? So just having that conversation with those kids, okay, what's our plan after we get that diploma? And so many of our kids don't have that plan, so just having those discussions. But I do know our graduation rate has gone up. I know in 2020 it was 67%, so just seeing a little bit of increase on that data on all of it is a good thing, but I know that we need to be better with our 5-year effective average and our 5-year success average.
Can I just ask?
Yep.
Is 19 the year that we had an admin change over there,
It would have been
or
18, I believe. Yeah, 18, 19. Yeah. So, yeah, and under Mr. Phelps' graduation rate has fairly improved, and I would hope that the success rate would follow that as well. So, some of the things that we have going on is just the expansion of the automotive program. So the automotive program through Garden City Community College, we have 12 Achieve students currently enrolled in the dual credit program. So I feel like getting more kids in that dual credit, they're already on their way to associate's degree. So they're already on their way to a more successful, having an effective success after they graduate. And I like having it first hour because then they're there. They're on time. They're going to be there for the rest of the day to do the math and their ELA. We are trying to expand this. Mostly this is targeting juniors and seniors, but working with the college to get a parts program that would maybe target more freshmen and sophomore age kids. So just giving them more hands-on, real-world experience. Our shop also provides classes for our Garden City High School kids. We have in the automotive, and then also Holcomb, Lakin, and Garden City Community College students. So we have a lot of different kids. The shop has been a work in progress, but it's really awesome to see our kids and then kids from throughout the area be successful with that. And then also our Achieve kids, I have a conversation in the morning all the time about cosmetology. Our kids that are in the cosmetology program at the college really love it. The construction program, we have some kids in that, and then the welding programs as well. So the more dual credit programs we can get our kids involved in, again, they're going to have, like Mr. Ming said, a better chance when they graduate is to go that second year and continue working towards that associate's degree.
No, not all those classes are also paid for by the state
Yep.
campus. It's all free to the students.
So JAG is a big thing in our building. We have a full-time JAG instructor. Our junior and seniors, it's an elective that most of our juniors and seniors will take at some point. So having a full-time JAG person and teaching some of these skills, career development, basic communication. So many of our kids don't even know how to have like a conversation or shake somebody's hand. So just having those soft skills in place and working on those things, getting them out in the community. I see JAG being a great elective for us, and right now we have over 1/5 of our students are in the JAG elective, so a good number of our kids are a part of that. Our JAG teacher also has a mentoring class, so it's another time that the students can come in.
they can talk about grades, things like that. So having a full-time JAG instructor is huge for us. Monthly career connections. This was just last week. Empirical Foods was in talking to our soon-to-be graduates. It's just and what we do is our seniors that are close to being seniors, they come in if they're interested in whatever the topic is, and we have a lunch for them. So they get to spend an hour with that, learning a little bit about what skills they need for the jobs that business has. But it just gives our kids also a time to connect and start doing that networking piece that I think is huge. We had Empirical Foods last week. Cosmetology, we're going to have a person from a salon come in for cosmetology. HVAC plumbing, we plan on having. Automotive, we have a former graduate that's now, I believe, at Lewis Motors that's going to come in. And if we can get some of our former graduates, especially that were at the alternative, now Chief, if we can get some of those kids that can tell their success stories, I think we can grab other kids and say, okay, they did it, why can't I? Welding, diesel, culinary, ag, ranching, trucking, these are all things that our kids are interested in, and we're going to try to get business leaders from those areas. Also, one thing that we're working, Ms. Jonkman, the counselor, she does a great job. We're working on the job shadow day, so every kid in the building, we're going to pair up and have some sort of job shadow. So everyone in the building is going to get out in the community. We're still working out the details, but that's something new that we'd really like to implement this year, and that's for our freshmen to seniors, and that's just giving them some more being out in the community and learning what kind of jobs, what kind of skills they need to be successful. And then our Mrs. Jonkman, our counselor, does a great job with graduation conferences. So, and this is part of just having that conversation. What's next? Okay, great. We're going to graduate. We got our diploma. What's the plan after that? These are student-led conferences with their individual plans to study, discuss graduation, and then what can we do after graduation? Okay, what's the plan? Help with FAFSA. I know that Ms. Jonkman has a lot of meetings with the kids about FAFSA, follow-up information with career assistance and career opportunities, and then making those post-secondary goals. Okay, so what's the plan? I know last week we also had somebody from Seward County Community College in, just bringing in different colleges, getting students, hey, what is out there? What are the opportunities? What can I be involved in? Kansas Gear Up is another program that is housed in our building. Amanda Kennedy is our coordinator. She's a Region 4 coordinator. It's housed in at GC Achieve. And she works with 18 soon-to-be graduates in our building, whether it's the TP, the virtual, and the Chief High School. She's also working, I'm also the principal at the Juvenile Detention Center. She's also working with some students at the Juvenile Detention Center to get them either hooked up into some college classes or helping them get to their graduation. Other things that she helps with is ACT prep, FAFSA assistance. I know she's been instrumental in helping one of our juvenile detention kiddos with FAFSA, college exploration and application, getting scholarship opportunities out there, and then job skills and life skills. And that's all I have. If there's any questions for me or Ryan in regards to the presentation?
I have a
So,
question.
Yes.
go ahead.
I just wanted to know, for individual plans of study, do the kids at GC Achieve also do, is it Zello? Is that, I can't remember which,
Yes.
program it is.
Yes,
The
yeah.
one-
Yes, they use Zello during the mentoring as part of the IPS, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So, there's a couple questions I have. I noticed that you got the monthly career connections for the seniors, that achievement program. Do you guys have like a career fair or a job fair? The local companies that come in and the students can bounce around from table to table and
I know in the past that they attended Garden City High Schools whenever they had theirs or their college days. We're planning something probably in the spring to have our own, to maybe hit, we're wanting to survey our kids and see what their interests are, because our clientele kids their interests may be a little bit different. So yes, that's something that we're planning. I know we worked and had one at Horace Good in the past, so something similar to that, where we bring in different people from the community, I think would be, yeah, that's something that we're looking at doing.
Okay, and the second, and I don't know if it's just the slides, the way the slides are put together, but it almost seems like the Achieve School is kind of heavy-handed towards a trade school or going to the college and doing welding or cosmetology. I didn't see, except for the last slide, of going to colleges.
Mhm.
So it almost seems heavy-handed, like we're gonna put you in the workforce, that this school's, we're building you for the workforce and not for college. So hopefully, I mean, you can understand from the slides that I'm
Sure.
getting.
No, I
That's kind
understand.
of the feeling that I'm getting, but hopefully there's a balance between the college and the workforce.
Yeah,
where it's at.
yeah.
Okay.
And I think too many times, like, I mean, I know it's changed, but when I was in high school, you're going to a 4-year college. That's what you're doing. That's what everybody in our graduating class, whatever. I think you've got to find that right fit, and you're right, a balancing, okay, what is best for this student to be successful? Because I'd hate to send somebody to a 4-year institution, then they're done, I mean, they're not ready for that as well. But, yeah, it's definitely a balancing act to try to have both things.
And I get that.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. I just want to make sure that they understand that it's not just a school for workforce
Sure,
employees.
no,
I just felt from the heavy-handed slides that it was kind of leaning towards that. And I just didn't want that to be misrepresentative of what you're trying to
Sure.
accomplish over there at the Achieve Center. So, thank you. I appreciate it. Anybody else?
Got a couple. First, just to kind of maybe help you out too on reading your mind.
Help me out.
I've got a job shadow coming and helping me out next semester. If she passes her interview, I'm making her do an interview too. But, because she's interested in being a lawyer, so. And then one question I have, and it's probably more for Dr. Carlin. I seem to recall when Renee did the post-secondary success, that she at one point tried to at least say, this is what our numbers would look like if, like we included military or something like that. Have we looked back into any of that at all in some of the work that she was doing? So we know, I guess, the real success rate, because, I mean, somebody could go to work and that's not included in the success rate here, which
Yeah,
I think it should be.
Yeah, and I think what we found is it's just pretty time intensive to track what the state can't get their arms around. Like, for example, the issue with the military, and that's not a KSDE issue, that's with the military. They won't release that information. So, last year, if you remember, we had to delay graduation. We had graduation in July in 2020. And we actually had 2 kids that got to walk at graduation who, had we had it in May when we normally have it, wouldn't have got to walk. Because the day after their classes finished, they left for boot camp. And they were back from boot camp and on a short little break. And so they got to participate in their graduation ceremony. But we don't get data back from the military on who completes, who doesn't, or even necessarily who's going. So we did try, but I think we kind of came to the conclusion that we're going to spend an awful lot of time and effort trying to track some stuff that we're probably not ultimately going to be able to have consistent and consistently accurate information. So the state has pretty much said on this that while they agree those are successful people, somebody who, for example, in our family, who maybe doesn't go on to college but joins the family business, and the family business is very successful, we certainly would define them as being successful, whether they achieved a college degree or not prior to that. The state has pretty much just said, we know there's a group of people represented, students represented in that we're not going to be able to account for. And as long as we do it consistently across the state, that gives us kind of a reasonable way to look at this.
Thank you.
So if my memory serves me right, we expanded the AVID program recently down to grade 7. Can you talk about how the expansion down to grade 7 feeds into the the AVID program in the high school? And is the AVID structure a predetermined structure, or are we able to take their guidance and I don't know exactly how those are structured, how those are set up by grades.
I can't speak, too much about the way they're implementing it at the middle school. But for me, in my position, the common language that we use in talking about those high yield strategies in the classroom, I think is where we get most of our bang for the buck. For example, we were talking, I think it was our first PLC of the year, in the Health Academy PLC. Our PLC leader asked the whole group of teachers to go around and share a strategy that they're using. I don't remember what the prompt was. One of the classroom strategies that they're using. I was keeping track in my head the Wicker strategies, writing, inquiry, collaboration, organization, and reading, to see if all 5 of those were represented as we went around the room with our 20 teachers. And every single one, we hit every single one. And I think that every single person that shared something shared a Wicker strategy they didn't even really realize they were. So I think that where we're at right now in implementation district-wide has had a positive impact. And I think that common language from the time they start, now down in 7th grade, and they get to us in 9th grade is going to start to pay dividends. But I don't know, admittedly, a whole lot about how it's being implemented at the.
Yeah. So I mean,
it comes from the middle school.
So being from Horace Good, previously, so I think it's twofold. I think we're now identifying kids that fit into the AVID elective classes, and then those kids are now filing up to the high school into those classes, and then also throughout all the common language, the WIC strategies. I mean, that's something I always look for if I was going in for a walkthrough, or we see the writing, the reading, the collaboration. So I do think now that the 7th graders that have been in AVID, now they're probably freshmen now, or going to be sophomores. I do think that you're going to start seeing some of that. Now I don't have concrete data for what exactly, what it's being represented, but I do think those 2 things are helping tremendously. And then also just, I think at the middle school level, having that conversation where you started hanging up the different colleges and the different tech schools and the different community college, just seeing all the different programs and colleges, starting that conversation at 7th grade and 8th grade with the IPS. I think that gets them at least thinking about, okay, what is my goal after high school? What do I want to start to go into?
Yeah, so thank you. I'm really interested in this expansion of the AVID program. It seems there's a lot of excitement from those of you that are in the field about this extension down into earlier grades of AVID. What's been a puzzle to me is that my understanding of the AVID program was that it was directed towards first generation college kids.
The AVID elective.
Yeah, the AVID elective. So
Yeah.
the
The
AVID
strategies
program,
are school-wide.
so there's AVID strategies and then there's an AVID program.
Like the WIC order that we're talking about, those strategies are implemented school-wide. But then, yes, you're right, the electives are going to target the first generation kids more.
Put some more intensive, strategies down there, really getting into the note-taking, the tutoring strategies, in the college visits. Those things are available to the whole student body with the school-wide approach and through the Career Center, some of the college stuff. And we're pretty careful now, the way we, AVID says, a college-going atmosphere is what you want to foster. That gets a little tricky, we talk about post-secondary training, again, like he mentioned, it doesn't have to be a 4-year program for all students. There are really good technical programs. A lot of, even at the university level, there are a lot more certifications being offered. So it's just a different approach and a different mindset. But, yeah.
Yeah, kind of two-way street there, the school line and then the elective, down in elective.
Yeah, and by the way, I was contacted by Mrs. Oakman today about doing some mentoring and stuff like that, so I just want you to understand, just as a slide deal for me, I don't want the stigmatism of just being the workforce school.
Yep, I get it, I understand.
Thank you. Anybody else talk about Dana, anything else?
Nope, I'm good.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Curriculum for school.
We still have the board, the building presentation.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, an us.
No, please, I hate to deny you the opportunity to speak in front of us. I apologize.
That's okay. We're used to it, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Oh, like this. I don't know where it's at.
It's right here. This is yours.
Oh,
Mr. Mean, I kind of like to see some electricians on that, but it's not just plumbers, HVAC. See if we can't work on that. I don't know. Little bias there.
oh, up here. I'm trying to understand. Okay. Well, I win the main race in almost every category, but public speaking is not one I'm going to be better at than Mr. Ming, so I apologize for that. My name is Jennifer Ming. I am a counselor at Armstrong High School. This is our counseling department, so tonight we're going to just go over some of the things that we do. We've been gifted with a couple of extra positions in the last couple of years, so we're really excited about that. And we wanted to share with you all of the ways that we are using all of our people. So I thought it was kind of good to share with you a day in the life of a counselor, which all of us, it's different for all of us. And it was probably 2 weeks ago, maybe a week ago, I was doing senior conferences in the classrooms with a room full of seniors. I get a text from another teacher that said, "I need you in the nurse's office. One of your students has taken some pills." So then they needed my assistance there. Leave Emily, Miss Hanlon, to go deal with that. That took up like an hour, just what we do. And then as I was walking the student out to be escorted to the emergency room, I come back in and I met with an administrator that was like, "I've been looking all over for you." It's like, "Oh gosh," and he said, "We just really need to get this student out of her first hour." And I just remember laughing to myself and out loud, actually, my job is so weird. This is not even 10:30 and we've dealt with all of these things that are really big deals. And most of you have teenagers, so you know that everything in their life is the most important thing that we're going to deal with, and they don't care really about what else you're dealing with. They expect you to drop everything that you're doing, no matter what it is, and deal with their problem. I don't even remember what I did the rest of the day, but that was a crazy morning, and I laughed because I thought this is just what we do. Our counselor, we do individual student conferences about all sorts of things. We work on their schedules, obviously. We deal with new students, weekly F lists, so every Monday, or Sunday, Monday, we get an F list, and we try and look at those so we can intervene and help students in the classes, with their classes if they're not passing. Semester school, SAT, our student assistance team, all of us are on our SAT teams. Academic advising, that's really big right now. October is a huge month for college prep, scholarships. The FAFSA just opened up. College applications are getting started. We have our PSAT, pre-ACT tests that we're getting, we're pushing right now. Social emotional counseling, which never ends. That's something that we all deal with. That involves conflict resolution, parent engagement, recommendation letters. I mean, it's just, you can see these are all over the place. she's not with us tonight. Her cousin is actually Bowen from Ness City that had suffered the brain injury, the football player. So she's actually gets to be with family today. So we miss her. She's great. She has 562 students in the freshman academy. That's the last that I looked. And I'm not sure if you all are aware, but the state recommends one counselor for 250 students. So you know that she's got a lot. And she does a lot of social emotional counseling. I can say this because I was there for several years. Freshmen are just a special breed. they do need a lot of support, a lot of emotional support. She does behavior contracts, SAT monitoring, and just there for all of those students. So, Mr. Vicente this is a new position for us. He's our at-risk counselor. This is his first year, obviously. He was at Kenneth, he was the counselor that went back between Kenneth Henderson and Horsegood in the past couple of years. He has 97 students on his caseload, so that's perfect. But those 97 students are all rollbacks, mostly considered freshmores. So students that did not have enough credits to be a sophomore, but obviously they're not freshmen, so we have a special name for those students, they're the freshmores. Those students could have anywhere from 0 credits to 5. If you have 5.5 credits, that's when you get to be promoted to sophomore year. So all different levels there. That's thanks to COVID and remote learning. When I was in the freshman academy, there was one year that I had 16 rollbacks, and I cried because I thought for sure I was going to lose my job because that seemed like a lot of rollbacks. And that was the year that we went from the 21 to the 24 credit, or 26.5 to 24 credit. So then we required more credits to move on to the next level. So that included that number. But he's got 97 students that are not on track to graduate. So this is a huge number. He's busy all day long with social and emotional, looking at their grades, helping the kids in whichever way that they can. Because as you know, when you have a student with 1 credit or 0 credits, it's incredibly difficult for them to graduate on time. We have a really good relationship with alternative school, but we don't have anywhere for these 97 students to go. They are with us, and we have to try and get them to graduate on time. So thankfully, Mr. Vicente, he works with them, and we put them mostly all of them in tutorial classes. He works with them in the Edgenuity lab, so they are still doing some Edgenuity classes to try and get caught up. Night school, but most of these kids don't come to night school. Of course, we'll utilize summer school however we can. But this position was so needed for this time that we're in. And I don't know, we're just very thankful, but we're all supporting him and doing whatever we can because this is a tough, those 97 kids. I would trade my 300 and whatever I have for those 97 very easily because that's hard. It's a hard job. So he's not here because he coaches soccer. I believe they have soccer tonight. So Brandon Fisher is here. He is the Arts and Communications Counselor. He has about 330 students. Brandon is really helps us a lot in charge of our savers, and I don't want to say in charge of, like, that's kind of scary, but he helps us with trainings or anything that we need there. He's also the LGBTQ advocate or resource, or he keeps us up to date on anything new. He's on some committees that he goes to, trainings or whatever, and he is able to share that information with us. And then bullying education. Mr. Alvarez is in Guatemala, obviously being small children somewhere. I don't know exactly what he's doing there, but he does amazing.
He's in computers.
Yeah.
He really is. He's working with 30 kids with violence and computers right now.
Amazing. So we're so lucky to have him. This is his, and Brandon's the start of both of their 3rd year at GCHS. So Mr. Alvarez has about 317 students. He's in the Trade Academy. He has been really working with our Spanish-speaking population. So if any of you have noticed, like the Spanish Facebook pages and anything like that, that is what he's doing. He's taking that on. Such a huge need. And our Spanish-speaking families just love having somebody that they can communicate with, that they don't have to go through an interpreter for. And so we've just, with Mr. Kim and Mr. Vicente, much anything that anybody needs her to do, and she does it really well. So it's really hard to kind of pick things that she's specifically in charge of. Our CNA, with our students, she makes sure all of that is lined out. Our Edgenuity, she was thankfully the person that kind of set that all up for us last year and really helped us with getting our students and everything that we need. And we still have some aftermath of that we're working with on night school and whatever, and Ms. Hanlon is helping with that. She does our tutoring too. I know Mr. Mean talked about some tutoring opportunities for students. She actually had it, I guess you get paid for it, so it's not like you totally volunteer your time, but she does do that on Saturdays, so she's able to help with our tutoring. And she's a new member of the curriculum council. She helps with our foreign exchange students. When they come, it's really tricky and messy, really, like your transcripts and where to put them. So Miss Armstrong and Miss Hanlon take that on, thankfully. Miss Armstrong, she's in the Career Center. She does a lot of stuff. So she used to be the Trade Academy counselor, but now when we created this position, she took over a lot of the things to help us, like our AP, our IPS. She's doing the IPS, the mentoring lessons during Wednesday mentorings, that SEL lessons, mentoring lessons, just anything with mentoring. She's really taken on testing, AP coordinator, newsletters. If you've seen the newsletters, that is Ms. Armstrong. Hobie, leadership team. She puts the Buffalo Supply Station together, all of the goodies that kids love. Helping with that. She helps with our ACEs and ACT prep and a lot of stuff. Ms. Irigoyen, this is another new position. So this is our K-State College and Career Counselor. So she's located in our Career Center. We're so happy to have her. She will help college students with anything related to college. If we need somebody to help with FAFSA, she's the gal. If we need them to help with college applications, getting scholarships out there, or anything, she is. So she's going to take a lot off of our plates, even though we're all still involved in that process. That is her. I don't know, my slide.
Yeah, why are you not?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it was a bad picture or something, but I don't know.
I know what her slide says. She has about 370 students, quite a majority in that upper part. She shares some of the ESL duties, which is huge, working with those students too, because they're new to our community, and she works with Kim Steele. She's on site council, she's our department head. She does the mentoring lessons, saves the day. What else? Let's see what happened. I don't know where you're starting. Suicide training, yeah. Huge part. And the bullying education. She also has, she's been our representative for us on many of our councils that are out in the community. Live well with your resist group. That's Jennifer. Keely has another part of it too. And also just, I'm going to brag on her for a second. She's the heart of it. Like today, I'm in her office. She's like, we're going to think a kid, like, let's spread kindness, Emily. Like, let's get kindness spreading throughout the building. So that's what she was working on, how to get kids involved to like get, she has that heart part of it, that she is there for the kids. And she did our You Matter Week shirts. She organized that type of thing. A lot of the heart and the emotion part with the kids.
The touchy-feely stuff, really. That's kind of.
Well, you're the heart, and I'm like the heavy.
That's part of the hammer.
That's what we do.
So we're always trying to make things better and do more, and just trying to make the GCHS a better place. And we're trying to get parents involved. We're doing these outreach seminars this year. In October, we're going to have a seminar on how to be a good digital parent, drugs, mental health, getting connected for service, healthy and safe dating relationships, personal safety, and college 101 for parents. So those were just some ideas that we brainstormed of things that we would like for parents, information for parents to have. Hopefully parents come, because sometimes they don't, but we're gonna try. The first one is how to be a good digital parent. It's like keeping your kid's phone at night, and I don't care how attention to the You Matter, focusing on that. So we did that, we just wrapped that up. Having the senior success fair, so that was new this year. We had several different areas of topics for seniors to come with their parents. We had NCAA, we had scholarships, we had colleges come around the track to be a part of that. We had military was there, Kansas workforce. We also went over or talked to the parents about how to make sure your kids are going to graduate and looking at all of that information. So that was new this year. We always have anti-bullying week. That's this week currently. Presentation in the junior classrooms to talk to them about what they need to be prepared for as juniors. I was talking to some juniors today, and they're not ready in their minds, which they need to be. So that's kind of what we're going to be talking to them about. FAFSA workshops, and we're going to work with Ms. Irigoyen, so that's good. Apply Kansas. You guys have probably heard about that, where you can come to the college or to the high school, kids can come and they can apply for colleges. And many colleges waive their application fee on these days, so it's a really big event. Some don't, but all of the counselors help with that. Ms. Armstrong organizes that with Ms. Irigoyen. Exploration Day at the community college, Freshman Academy, the career day, so we do a career day, helping them choose which academy they'd like to go into. Snacks and apps, that's where we feed them and help them with scholarship apps and any other types of apps. Enrollment, College 101. Ms. Armstrong sits with a group of kids and whoever signs up and gives them like a little binder and a little helpful tips for college. And then of course our senior awards ceremony, which is at the end of the year. Ms. Armstrong, do you want to talk about this?
Last year, I received a grant to supply the Buffalo Supply Station from Western Kansas Community Foundation, and it was $2,000, and it lasted pretty much from December to the beginning of May-ish. It was pretty thin at the end. This year so far it has been empty, and I applied through National Honor Society back at the end of May, and I just found out Friday that we were awarded a $2,000 grant. So we'll be able to get shampoo and deodorant. I got some toothbrushes and toothpaste donated this year. That's very popular actually. Socks, and then the snacks, peanut butter crackers, mac and cheese, those kinds of things. But we don't want kids to be hungry at night or on the weekends or even during the day. Like, 7:50 to 11:30 is kind of a long time, if they can't afford to bring their own snacks with them. So anyways, we're really excited about that.
This is Kim Steele and Darlene Dillon, so I wanted to put a slide on there about them. They're not part of the counseling department per se, but without them, we would really struggle. Kim is in charge of our ESL department, and then Darlene is the special education department. So we work closely with them when we share students. So they're just really a huge part of our department. Yeah, they look like retired and we're all there. Any more questions?
I just have a comment. I know your main focus is the kids, but getting this parent through high school, I really appreciate it. So if you don't see my senior in the next few months, go find her because she needs to get her applications in. That's just my plug for myself, but no, thank you for all you do. I really appreciate it.
We work on our stocking skills, don't worry, like we find ways to find. I like to go to fast food restaurants where I know they're at. It benefits me to get chocolate malt and to get their diploma name. That is what I'm doing right now, yes.
Thanks for all you do, very much appreciated. And thank you for responding quickly to the emails that I get, like when they realize I have court. So thank you so much.
My kids, these are two of the places that I probably saw the most as my kids went through school. They were the social emotional support for my kids, and yeah, my kids have a lot of advantages, but really mattered was what these two had to offer. And honestly, since they left for college, and now a lot of that burden falls to me, I really would like to just have it back. I'm pretty sure I'm not near as effective, but I really do. I still have a really big place in my heart for both of them.
Dana?
Hey, I just want to add, along with all the things, is I've really appreciated the up in like Facebook presence. Your posts are awesome. I always try to like or even share them just to try and get more people because I think they've been great. I think starting last year, but particularly this year too. You guys are doing a great job online.
Yeah, Miss Armstrong. Thank you.
You know, it's been for several years, I think we've kind of agonized over how you were short-staffed here at the high school. And it's still a little bit so. But do you think those two new positions are they replacing something or are they brand new and so helping that?
They are definitely taking a load off of us. I mean, we have 97 rollbacks and those would have just been dispensed amongst us all, which we all kept some rollbacks, so those are just the real.
Those are just the freshmen and sophomores. We still have our junior and senior
Yeah,
upperclassmen.
and I even kept some freshmen just that I had already worked with, so, but that in itself will just help us. And the goal is, the idea is, once those students get on track, then they will go into an academy and he'll get a whole new load. I think we're all realizing now how hard that's going to be and how many we're going. We pray that we'll never have another rollback here like we did last year. You know, that we're so happy about the graduation rate. Mr. Norby texted me when he got that information. He was so proud. But we had the conversation. But in a couple of years, it's going to be probably not so great because of this. I mean, we're tasked with trying to get 97 students on grade level, which is hard. And we have every opportunity in the world, but and we'll get hopefully we can get some of those to the alternative school or virtual, but you know we don't know with that, and so we just have to plan on that they'll all be with us for the 4 year or 3 next year.
Actually, to answer that question, when we were at the old building, we were at this level of counselors, plus we had 3 full-time secretaries that only helped the counselors. When Heather Reed left, Chris Tanner moved into her position and the career counselor was cut. When Elaine Shaleski retired, her position was cut. When Joaquin Padillo, he did go to the new building with us, but then his position was also cut. So through the years, we have lost 3 counselors and we only have a half-time secretary at the current.
Well, that was my sense, and we've talked about this once, off and on, annually, I think. And so it's kind of cool, first of all, to hear this report. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Well,
And you all are amazing people. But I also want to not lose track of where we were and maybe where we need to be. And so I have to ask the question just for clarification. Source of funding is always something we have to deal with and the leadership deals with. And are we able to utilize some of the COVID relief, I'm probably not using the right term here, but some of these special funds for 3 years for one or both of these positions? Or
Yeah, so I believe one of these positions was funded through the ESSERS process that we did last summer. And so it will be a possibility to continue to fund that for 2 more years with that ESSER funding. The other is a 2 or 3 year grant that we got through Kansas State University that provided that other position. So that's where the 2.
Right, Ms. Irigoyen's position is not funded through Garden City Public Schools. It's through, and my understanding is that we'll have that for 2, maybe 3 years, and then if we want to keep that position, then we will. And maybe even we start to pay some of it after 2 years, and then after 3, like it's all our responsibility after that. So.
Well, getting kids up, I mean, with the environment that you excitement, but also the challenges and the numbers, is quite the task, first of all. And then, over the next couple of years, we'll have to think very carefully about funding to sort of fill in the gaps unless we, amazingly get another grant or something, like we're blessed with now. And that's not unique for the district, I think, looking forward. But the high school and all of the work that's done in the entire district to get these kids up to that point, and then to launch them into graduation or whatever they're dealing with. And you guys play such a key role in that, this whole activity. This is another one of those places where you don't want to skip on spending.
Thank you.
Well, and that's the thing too, like if we went back to Mrs. Armstrong's slide, when we got that position and she was able to move into that 3 years ago, I just will never forget the day I was supposed to be doing our PSAP, which was huge because we had a lot of students that were potential national merit capability, but I had a student that was suicidal. And I had a room full of 50 kids that needed bubble sheets done because they needed that because they were in the PSAT running. And I had a student having the absolute worst day. And I hung in there, people hung in there with me. We were there till 11 p.m. that night, moving things around. But when we were able to get that position, when Mrs. Armstrong was able to take that as our, I don't just say that as our veteran, like she's able to navigate all of that for us. It just helped take off that feeling of having to triage everything every day. Like you want to be there for these kids, but it's a really hard feeling some days when you have to pick and choose how to navigate. And especially when there's time sensitive. Today we were trying to figure out something on Skyward. We were FaceTiming each other.
Yeah, we were.
And trying, because it had to do with the scholarship, but yet I had Mr. Means knocking on my door. This girl, like he's trying to bring this girl in.
I had been sitting down.
And so I was wondering too, on the support staff you used to have, that's the kind of thing they would be.
Oh, secretary would have helped me with those bubble sheets in a heart, but we.
Well, the secretary could have ran the report that
Could
took
have
us
ran-
from.
Yeah, and we
way too
haven't
long.
been able to keep anybody yet in our half-time, we don't have a secretary. We don't. And so, right, so luckily we have admin that are very supportive of us and take care of us, like our mental health needs, because sometimes it's not easy. The counselor needs a counselor, or Dr. Pepper or whatever is happening, but that's what these positions do, because there's just times when they come to your door or a teacher calls you and you got to triage, and it's a hard feeling.
Well, you're in a position, as the teachers are too, this last year we were taking on some of these burdens of the individual students. And I would imagine you can only do so much of that before you need counseling yourself. So to
Well,
speak.
but that's why we're so grateful
Dr.
for these
Pepper.
positions and the support that we have felt from admin and from the board. I mean, I truly am not just saying that, because to be able to rest a little bit at night because you were able to see more kids. Because I had senior awards, that was my responsibility, the 2 weeks when I'm trying to make sure they're gonna graduate. And Mrs. Armstrong has it now, but she has to do it during AP testing. So we just long hours and balloon rides and getting balloons into vans and trying to get it all done. So we really do.
And I don't want to
appreciate
sit up here and think, oh, poor us,
Yeah,
we're still
no.
so overworked. Because we are so grateful for the positions that we
Yeah.
have now, and we loved our jobs, weirdly enough, before we had those positions. Now it's just, it's just getting better, and we're able to do more things that we all really are passionate about, rather than just the bare minimum, because that's all. we
I
have
was
time
able
for.
to do more work-based learning because my things had shifted. You matter, there were things that we could shift and add. These parent seminars, these things are what we're gonna be able to add because things are pivoted to free up a little space, so.
Well, the numbers are interesting, but we don't get to the numbers without that activity, so appreciate it.
Just remember all this when in a couple of years, we're like, why is our graduation rate so low? Remember, we had 97 rollbacks that year, so.
Well, we're.
Yes.
Yeah, so thank you for all you do. We appreciate all your hard work. And hopefully we'll get those positions filled soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
So tonight, the high school was scheduled to do a building report. We're kind of back in the mode to kind of start those again, and so we kind of combined the two, just because it kind of their request, the things related a little bit, and so you kind of got your first building report to get back in the swing of things, but it wasn't really titled as a building report, but we won't make them come back again and do another building report, so.
Look at you. Can we move on now?
Can I say one thing real quick? And I've noticed some schools back east, particularly one in Manhattan, that utilize, I don't know if you call them, well, para support or students who are studying to be teachers, things like that. We don't have a four-year college here locally, but that to fill in some of those gaps to support counselors. And I guess we probably don't have, I mean, do counselors have paras?
Nah, not typically.
Okay, just a question. Okay, thank you.
Anything else? All right, thank you, Mr. Okay, moving on to Horace Good Middle School book grant.
So we have two teachers with us tonight from Horace Good, Elena Chase Aronson.
It's just Bates now.
It's just Bates, okay, thank you. And Jose Alfredo Anaya.
Yep.
And they're gonna share some of the good work they've been doing.
Can I pull up a presentation on Drive?
Fought you guys so hard to get access to Google and we are using it.
Is this a homework assignment?
I've heard this one, so okay. Keyboard.
Okay, so as Dr. Carlin said, I am Elena Bates, most often called Lainey.
And I'm Alfredo Anaya.
I'm sorry, it's not being shared by the.
Oh, that's right, Zoom. VCR. Okay, there we go. So we both teach at Horace Good Middle School, and part of the district framework is every middle school student, every secondary student receives 20 minutes a day of independent reading time, which is unstructured, I don't want to say unstructured. It's not teacher directed. We do not tell them what they're going to read. It is their opportunity to read independently for pleasure. And the reason this matters, because I was on the cohort that put this into place in 2010, a tiny sliver of our data, and what research shows us is that classroom libraries are the great equalizer. Sometimes we have students who won't go to the library or can't get to the library. In our building, we have to rotate days. Every teacher gets 1 day every 2 weeks to take their whole class. We do have the ability to send students on passes 2 or 3 at a time, but then you lose the ability to conference with those students while they're there. And there's also the counter thing right now of our buildings. We're not really allowing a whole lot of hall wandering right now due to some TikTok shenanigans. Classroom libraries also remove the hurdles to getting books into students' hands. There's not a delay at the start of the year. We're not waiting for 7th grade to do orientation to the library before 8th grade can get in. Which I don't deny that 7th grade needs that, but it does put a 2-week lag on the ability to get books into students' hands. Barbary found that 7th grade girls are not only reading for class, they're reading for pleasure reasons, or for personal reasons. they're trying to clarify their beliefs. And granted, they're seventh graders, so they'll do it 3 or 4 more times in their life at least. But that's where they're starting. They're trying to figure out who they are and discover that they're not alone, that their experiences are shared. And we heard the high school presentation talk about those social emotional self-regulations, and reading is a key component in that. Teaching practices have a lasting effect on students' ability and willingness to read, and when students have a teacher who says, hey, I know you love sports, this book made me think of you. Almost guaranteed that student is going to say, oh, they thought of me, and they're going to take that book and go. They may not read the whole thing, but they will engage with it and come back to you for more conversation, because now you've made that one-on-one connection with them. Anything you want to add? And like I said, this is a teeny, tiny piece of the puzzle.
Okay, so what is the Book Love Foundation? Penny Kittle, a teacher, began this foundation in 2012. She had the idea that every student was like a shopper going into a bookstore, and every student has particular interests. But as teachers, we're not always able to meet those student interests in our classroom libraries, especially with a lot of the shrinking budgets in many school districts. And a lot of us just cannot purchase books with our own money from our paychecks. So it's definitely an issue that we can't update our libraries as much as we would like to. So in 2013, the inaugural year for the grant, 40 teachers applied, and now the foundation receives more than 400 applications a year, and they give away thousands of dollars for books. This grant is also international and is given to recipients in the United States and Canada, so it's a pretty big deal when a teacher receives it.
Since the inaugural year, there have been 4 grant recipients in the state of Kansas. 2 of them are standing in this room and teaching the same book. And we thought that was kind of a big deal. We promote book club in our classroom every day. The grant helps, but one thing I was doing before the grant, every single day I pick a book from my classroom library and I do a book talk with my students. This is how we start class. Sometimes they come from, backing up, they come from all the different sections of my room. We have begun our study of the literature of the Holocaust, and so right now all my books are coming from that section and war literature. But we will continue to move based on that. I get up, I tell them what the story is about, I tell them if there's anything about the author that might connect with them, and I read them a teaser of the book to try to get them interested. And then I have a very super high-tech book request system. They fill out an index card, put it in the box, and when the book comes back, I give it to that next student. And then I also get to do reader's advisory, which is, I'm not going to lie, the highlight of my day, when a student comes to me and says, I want a book about an athlete who's also a nerd. Okay, let's go find it. That's part of what brings me joy as a teacher. And building in activities like book speed dating, which we were able to do this year thanks to COVID not having us quite so unable to share materials, but they get 3 minutes with a book, and they get 5 books, and they get to speed date the book, look at it, go through it, rank it, yes, no, maybe.
And some of the things that I like to do is I like to feature different books based on like what's going on. Band Book Week was last week, so I did a lot with that with my students. There was also Hispanic Heritage Month, so I try to feature books that were related to that. One thing that I think is really important is that us as teachers, we have to model reading. So whenever I give my students 20 minutes to read or however much time, I'm walking around monitoring them, but I'm also reading a book at the same time. So I think that's really important for them to see us as readers as well.
Why did we apply? I had been growing my classroom library since 2017, and by 2020, I was steadily increasing what I had thanks to the LINK grant, which we had for 3 years, which provided $250 per teacher in our building per semester. But $250 when you're buying those newer published books through the book fair doesn't go that far. And I was very lucky in that my ex-husband made it a priority as well that we built money into our own budget that we could get used books into the classroom library. But that can't go forever. And so a couple years before 2020, the Horace Good English teachers had done an independent book study on our own of Penny Kittle's book club. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna apply for the book club grant because the worst they can say is no. And I thought, you know, if I get this, maybe I'll get $500, maybe I don't know. But it'll be something I can put in their hands.
And I applied because having a diverse classroom library has always been a big goal for me as a teacher. Growing up, I loved reading. I like Harry Potter books, Old Yeller, the Goosebumps books. But I never felt like the books that I read truly represented me. So since I've been a teacher for the last 7 years, I've noticed that there's a huge lack of diversity in characters and novels that the students are reading. I am a first-generation Hispanic college graduate, and I know that a lot of my students come from similar backgrounds. So I want to be able to provide them with books that will interest them and will reflect who they are, but will also teach them about other cultures.
I'm very lucky. I mean, I've got Anne Green Gables, the Weasley family, and Harry Potter's, but my child does not have that ability, and I want books, like what Alfredo said, that represent her. So, feedback from our community so far has been, you just got your books today, right?
Yeah.
I can't wait to see how this goes. I've had mine for a year, because I'm a 2020 recipient, Alfredo's a 2021. I had teachers in the building who will bring their at-risk or their reluctant readers to me and say, here, help. And that I love building those relationships that way. And a student, as a 7th grader, I loaned him a book from the war literature section. And he came back this year and said, I borrowed the first one, can I have the next one? Yes. I have a 24-year-old former student I've stayed good friends with who messaged me this weekend and said, hey, can I borrow your Percy Jacksons? I want to go back to Camp Appleton. So I was able to do that handoff today. And building those relationships and getting emails from my former students who are now in the high school saying, hey, I have to read a book and I have no idea what to do. Okay, let's talk. Let's figure out where your interests are and let's get some books in your hands. That just makes everything worthwhile.
And I put on there that I should be receiving my books within the next couple of weeks. I actually got them today, so that was exciting. I did have my students complete a reading interest inventory at the beginning of the school year just to see what kind of books they wanted to read. And I saw that a lot of them wanted to get graphic novels, which I really like graphic novels too, so that didn't surprise me as much. It surprised me that a lot of them like historical fiction. And something that I try to order to push them out of their comfort zone a little bit was some nonfiction books. So I ordered different ones about different things like the Birmingham's Children's March. We're reading a novel called Refugee right now, so I ordered some books about refugees from Central and South America. And then I got books about just Native American history in the United States, just different nonfiction things that they could read about.
The books I was able to bring tonight, I believe The Help falls in historical fiction. Autobiography of My Dead Brother is Walter D. Meyer, and he was sort of the original bad boy author who appealed to a lot of our at-risk kids. Since he passed away, Jason Reynolds has kind of picked up that role, and the students go through both of their books voraciously. Hey Kiddo is a nonfiction graphic novel about a young man's experience following his mother's passing. And a lot of our students, especially our students who come from one-parent households, really respond well to that graphic novel. And I'll be honest, when I started teaching, I was like, graphic novels, that's not real literature. Yes, it's too much for my brain. There's so much going on the page and so much they're absorbing through the pictures and the text and the facial expressions. It's amazing what they get out of that. I can't remember the title of it, but it's about the Twin Towers. Thank you. Yes, it's about the Twin Towers. And Pride is a retelling of Pride and Prejudice. So that allows me to gateway them into more complex literature by giving them a story that they're like, oh, I know this story. I just gotta go from here. So we wanted to say ways that USD-457 can help other teachers with book love. Supporting and protecting the 20-minute IR framework is a huge one. I have not heard any word that anyone wants to get rid of it, but just always that's a big deal for us and what we do with it. I don't know how feasible this is, especially with COVID, but we've had other grant recipients who have had their district offer a cash match for any book club grant recipients. So my grant was $2,000.
Mine was $500.
Yeah, and I think the difference is in the COVID and what was being donated, but the ability to cash match, I know we've had grant recipients from other states who've had private donations. This is kind of a quirky one for my room, but if you've ever toured Horsecould Middle School, you know there's 4 rooms that are shaped like somebody stepped on a trapezoid. I'm in one of them. And the approval of furniture requests for durable shelving that is specific to that classroom would go a long way, because right now I am out of space. There is nowhere to put kids or more books. and obviously the kids have to take priority. Providing professional development opportunities for teachers regarding independent reading and its benefits. Kelly Gallagher has come and spoken in our district before. He is sort of the other side of the coin with Penny Kittle. He's a fantastic resource, and I have emailed him for stuff, and he's gotten back to me. So he's incredibly finger on the pulse. Training instructional coaches on ways to support IR. We're very lucky. We have Chris Duncan, who's brand new and super engaged, wants to know what we're doing, wants to know how he can help. Certified librarians. We really need certified librarians available to us whenever possible. We're very lucky. Our para is amazing. She comes to us whenever she's not sure how to proceed. She'll come to us because she knows that we're the ones who would know. But that certified librarian or more training for the library paras or both.
Can I ask a quick question?
Absolutely.
My sister-in-law would kill me for asking this question.
Sure.
Why is certified librarian?
Because the field of library and information science, I'm halfway through a master's on it, which is not a plug for a position, but it's so much more than just checking books in and out or ordering the books. Helping students get back to primary documents and understanding what their significance is, teaching those explicit research skills, but also how information and its storage and management is changing rapidly. And those simply aren't skills that a library para has. Like we said, ours is fantastic with getting books in and out of the kids' hands and getting readers involved, but a certified librarian can go into that history classroom or that science classroom and, okay, let's pull up the primary documents from, they're doing the Revolutionary War right now in 8th grade, helping those teachers and providing additional instruction with how information is managed.
So, when this is about the skills involved in accessing information.
Partly.
Answer questions.
Expand, please.
Well, I'm trying not to inject my opinion into this, but I'm trying to interpret what you said.
Well, I would be more than happy to talk you through.
Yeah, we should, instead of dragging our day through this.
But in another time, I'd be happy to talk
Let me
to you.
clarify, I'm not arguing against a
I know.
certified librarian. I'm trying to make sure everyone understands what they bring besides the ability to check books in and out.
Yes. One of the big things in librarianship right now is what's called metadata, which is data about data.
Mhm.
And one of the things, an example of metadata that might be well known is using the 23andMe DNA library or DNA bank to catch the Golden State Killer. And it's those sort of researching skills and ability to look at a problem and go around. It's librarians who are coming up with those and information specialists. So a certified librarian would bring all manner of different approaches that a library para doesn't have the background for.
Does a certified librarian help kids understand which information to,
Ideally, yes.
okay,
Yes.
and which to ignore?
Yeah. And that would be part of that researching and being able to go back to the primary documents and the sources.
A skill that we could all use.
Yes. Absolutely.
Thank you.
I wanted to include some pictures because, like I said, trapezoidal room, but I've got a wonderfully supportive administrator in Mr. Springston. And anytime I've come to him and said, I need a bookshelf, he has not asked any questions. He has just made sure I got one. But my room is a little, so would we use flammable? So I do organize my books. You can see the stickers. I don't know if I zoomed in enough, but they're organized in organic ways that allow the students to find them. This right here is the paranormal section, action adventure, novels in verse, poetry. On the other side of this shelf is sports, coming of age, stories about heroes. Over here we've got some author specifics, science, Latinx, Asian authors, graphic novels, books about pets because for some reason they really like to make themselves cry periodically. April Henry's down here. She came to Garden City about 3 years ago. She's one of the most beloved authors that my students have. Just more books that we were able to bring in. I've got all the history and Holocaust together, true crime, books about presidents. These are my autobiographies and biographies. And that's what the room looks like from the door. Don't mind their textbooks. That class is an organizational pickup. But as you can see, it's a little chaotic. Anything you'd like to add?
No, but I did have a similar issue trying to get a bookshelf this year. I wanted one, and I was told to get it with my classroom budget, which I was like, it's not really a lot to begin with, and I use that for my supplies. So I just ended up getting one out of pocket. I mean, I don't know if we had some available at school, but just the furniture issue sometimes.
So, any additional questions for us?
I have just one more
Go
comment. I think there's community members who, when you develop a love of reading and memory and stuff, and what you talked about for yourselves and for your students is a commonality that I can identify with, and I think a lot of people that I know can identify with.
I've been very lucky when the Audrains were packing to move. Sheila brought books, boxes and boxes to my house. I know that there's been times that in our staff, we've emailed and said, hey, I've got 3 copies of this.
Yeah.
Who else would like them? And so we're able to put books in each other's classrooms as well. And we've got no shame about sending kids to each other's rooms as well as the library to look for books.
Any comments about how your grants or your individual book fit with what the libraries have? I mean, are you looking what the libraries have and you're trying to augment that? Or how do you make sure this isn't redundant with the libraries?
That's a good question.
I mean, to me it seems like when I go to the library, it's like a new selection, but it might have been from like 6 months ago, and then like, I mean, as with everything, kids want to read the latest thing, and it's hard for libraries to get that and get their inventory updated as quickly as like we could get something and have kids be interested in it for a while, I feel like.
Also, I feel our library is a little restricted in what she's able to get. I don't know why, I haven't been able to figure that part out yet, but we had free reign pretty much. And for 3 years before I got the grant, I had been keeping a wish list on Amazon of titles or topics the students had told me they wanted more books about. So when I got this grant, the first place I went to was my Amazon wish list, and I just started ordering those. So,
Do you think it's true that if you have the books located in a closer proximity than the library, and they're books that you have excitement or knowledge of, that it's a smoother scene to try to get the kids involved with them?
yes.
Yeah.
And it's geographically, Horace Good is interesting. The library is on the furthest south side of the building, and the ELL highway is in the furthest north. So it's not easy to get the whole class to the library, whereas if the books are on the shelf and we're talking about something in class and it happens to come up organically, I can just walk over and say, here, there's a bunch of books that would fit if you want to know more about this. And they can take each other to the shelf and say, I really liked this series, you should check it out. Which, a kid recommending something to another kid, nothing goes further than that. And sometimes I think the ability to have that one-on-one conversation with a teacher quietly about something they want to know more about, they don't feel as exposed as in our big echoey library. But to answer your redundancy question, I did go down and look through our library to see what was available as well. And looked at the database as well. So to make sure that I wasn't overlapping if there wasn't a need to overlap.
Thank you.
Congratulations to both of you.
Thank
I was
you.
really excited when I saw it on Facebook.
Yeah.
Congratulations, it was a huge effort.
Dana?
Yeah, congratulations, and I am so excited about your excitement about books and getting students excited about books. And I 100% get like the hands-on easy access. So I guess my question is, how much, because it was my understanding too, and I don't know if it was the new ELA curriculum or another, we just get presented with so many different things, but that there was a large access to online books. Is that, did I make that up, or do we have that, or do you do that a lot with students as well?
Yes and no. There is an access to the books that are available through the textbook curriculum, but a lot of them are ones that the copyright is expired, and so it lacks a lot of diversity or modern issues that the kids connect with. it's a lot of what's considered the literary canon, and there's value in the literary canon. I'm never gonna say there's not. But it can be very off-putting, especially for our struggling readers or our reluctant readers, to give them a way in.
Yeah, it's
So-
books that are in the public domain, so they're significantly older than a lot of the, which makes them a little bit more challenging to read,
Yeah.
especially for middle schoolers.
Every year I have several who are working their way or want to read more on the AP list, so we do use that as well.
And do you collaborate with the library at all? Because we have, I mean, they have great free online like Hoopla and other, you know, free online digital. I just think about easy access and when you're at home and when you're bored, you know, do you talk with students or connect them with those resources too?
Yes. Actually, 7th grade last year, when we realized that COVID was going to put a serious monkey wrench in our IR program, the 7th grade team took the initiative to contact the Kansas State Library to get us the ability to assign all of our students a library card through the cloud library.
And we did that this year as well, just so they have that as an extra resource for books.
Yep. And we also do Hoopla. I love Hoopla. I actually use that a lot in my teaching if I want to have them hear somebody reading fluently that's not me. And I talk about using Hoopla myself when I go driving to get audiobooks and listen to them. Hoopla is a free app that you can use to check out an audiobook if any of you aren't aware. It's fantastic. So yes, we do.
Awesome, that's great. Sorry, I know this was probably a tangent from your success in getting this grant, and I thank you for going the extra mile, so.
Thank you.
Jeff?
I don't have anything that's been said, so thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Echo that. Well, congratulations on the grants.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you for
letting
coming
us tell you about it. So.
Keep up the work. Thank you. Is this something we bring back?
Yeah, I'm gonna take, those are 5 of my most popular. If I don't have kiddo back tomorrow, I'm gonna have a very upset young man who's got it on his checkout list. Thank you, Alfredo. Thank you guys for having us.
Thanks for coming. Okay, unfinished business, COVID update.
walk through our charts that we have. I think you'll see a little bit, maybe, there's a good trend, I hope. So this is Penny County, new positive cases by the week, and it is holding steady this last week, and it has steadily come down since we started school. Positivity rate in the county went up just a little bit, and she did state that it is due to the number of cases that they're testing. The actual amount of positive cases is held pretty close. Local hospital COVID cases, we had this dip, but it did go back up again, and they're seeing the ICU is full again. New positive student tests, again, the orange is year-to-date, and the blue is by week, current positives. So we did start out rather high, but that also has kind of came down just a little bit. I'm hoping for another week that stays down, so. Number of students sent home a day. This one we're really kind of seeing, I think either parents are figuring out, oh, I need to keep my kid home, or, kind of figuring out if they're gonna call me if I send them to school. So we're sending fewer kids home, this last couple weeks. And it was about the same again today. This is, student attendance. So the absences, all absences is up here in orange, and the blue is for COVID reasons. And again, we're seeing that go down, so that's a nice trend. The weekly attendance rate, because the other number's going down, this one's going up, which we like to see. I'd like to see that get just a little bit higher this next week and hit that 90 mark. We haven't done that yet this year, but that would sure be a nice thing to see on here. This is staff attendance. So the blue is all staff for all reasons. The gray is classroom staff, all reasons. And then the two bottom lines, the orange line is all staff and the yellow line is classroom staff due to COVID. So these bottom lines are COVID reasons, and these are all absences. So again, we're seeing just a slight downward trend again. Positive staff per week. Last week we only had 2. So we had 1 the week before, so those numbers have come down as well. This is our substitute data. Heath, do you want to say anything on this? Because Heath has kind of been the star of our evening meetings, I think, with his data as well, so.
Just happy to see the upward trend. Thank you for the community response and people signing up to be substitutes. It's critically important for us. And last week was our highest average fill week. We were right at 70% fill for our requests versus fill positions. So that's been a very pleasant change that we've seen, and hopefully that continues.
We like it when the positivity goes down and the subs go up, but, we each have our direction we like. So the number of students quarantined per day, so this number is also going down, and we went under 100 today. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. What do we have going on in the school district? We have 7 of our elementary schools that are currently yellow, and just to clarify, in case you looked at that, a couple of them are yellow but have no classrooms yellow. So what we have there is an itinerant staff that has been in the building, and there was an exposure within the building, but no direct exposure in the classroom, so we still turned the building yellow. So there are 2 classrooms that are yellow because of that. We do have both intermediate, middle, and the high school yellow. Since our last board meeting, we had 1 red classroom at Victor Ornelas due to 3 exposures that were due to classroom exposures. We had 22 students quarantined from the 15th to the 24th, and the teachers did provide exposure to those students while they were out. The teacher was out as well during that time.
Could I ask a quick question? Do those 22 students, were they included in our list to qualify, count against us funding?
Yes, that list is up to date.
Thank you.
Do you know if there were any other positives that came out of that class after they were quarantined, or is that?
Yes, there was. That's one of the things that I think we all kind of have an aha moment every once in a while. It's like, oh, that was a good thing. That happened at Charles Stone's as well. So there were students that became positive after the quarantine, but it was like the quarantine worked. That's, so the health departments, they saw that pattern and they quarantined the kiddos, but it does seem to help keep it from spreading any further then. So So Michelle, applied for a grant, through KPHE, and she found out that she was awarded that grant. That will give us an additional nurse position, which includes the benefits for that nurse. That position will help with COVID monitoring, vaccination clinics, and, testing for staff, families, students. And then, it will also cover all of the testing supplies, including courier expenses. So many times they do the swabs and then we have to send them off to KPHE, and that will cover those expenses. It will also cover the office supplies for that new nurse. So the computer that she uses, for example. They also got a rapid PCR machine, so they can do the PCRs now and test them in-house and not have to send them off. So that's gonna help a lot of our staff not have to wait those 3 or 4 days for it to come back. And then we will also be able to check for influenza as well. So if a student is sick, we can screen for COVID, but we can also screen for influenza. Some of the clinics that the nursing department has assisted with, August, we had one at the high school and Horace Good. September, there was another one at the high school, and again, you'll see the month apart for the different shots, 1 and 2. There will be another one in October at the high school. That was actually last Friday, and then this week we'll have, both middle schools will have clinics. I don't know what time KH is at. I know Horace Good is doing theirs at the end of the day, so if people want to come in and get the shot, for example, with their kids, it will be open until 4 or 5, I believe. On the 15th, we will have a flu clinic for staff. And then on the 21st of October, there will be a community outreach flu clinic at Horace Good. So this will be a drive-through, that back alley there. And the hospital will help with that, and our school nurses will help with that. So 9 to 11 at Horace Good, 1 to 3 at East Garden Village. Our nurses are busy people. That's it for tonight. Questions?
Jennifer?
Not yet. My process a little longer.
Sure.
Thanks.
I'll come right back. Mario?
I just say, keep up the good work.
I don't have anything. Thank you for the information.
Thank you as well. Seems you're getting pretty good. Fortunately.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to come up with a different design or something.
I like it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I like it.
Yes, rapid fire. I like it. Thank you for the information.
All right, you're welcome.
Oh, thank you, Dana.
I don't have anything. Thank you, Linda.
My turn?
I don't have anything. I did get to hear just a bit of the report of the city commission meeting today, and it was a lot in line with what you said, so I just was gonna give them a little bit of a shout out. And if you get an opportunity, you can go back and watch that. I thought there was some good information on there too, and aligned with what you reported, so.
Thank you.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Carla? Thank you, Linda. New business, election of delegate and alternate delegate for Kansas Association of School Boards, Delegate Assembly 1 on Saturday, November 6th, 11 a.m. And as part of the KSB Annual Convention, and Delegate Assembly 2 on Thursday, December 16th, 2021, to be held virtually at 5:30 p.m. So we need to elect a couple delegates.
Well, I don't know who all is,
So discussion.
who's all interested in
Volunteer.
volunteering.
It's,
November 6th is the delegate assembly 1 and December 16th, number 2. So 1 is the election for the KASB president-elect designee. That's the only thing we'll be voting on. And then assembly 2 will be the legislative agenda. And there's going to be another online opportunity on Friday at noon to go over the legislative agenda and offer input on that by Zoom. They canceled the 2 because there wasn't enough signing up for the one here in person and the one in Oakley in person. So, but I did half of it on Friday. Court was running late, so I only got to half of it, but it was a really good discussion, so I would encourage you, even if you're not gonna be able to go to the delegate assembly, to please sign up for that, because you can have your input on the agenda. There's a lot of questions on there that they have, so.
Well, you're nominated for president-elect, is that correct?
Yes, so I would prefer not to be the delegate.
And this is at the KSB conference, right?
Yes, but there's also virtual learning.
Alex, were you going to attend?
I am attending.
Okay.
Virtually?
No, I think I'll go personally. So, I mean, I don't mind doing it, but I wanna make sure everybody else has the opportunity to throw their hat in the ring.
Maybe just one.
And just do one though.
One delegate and then an alternate,
Yeah.
in case,
Are you saying you want that?
What about Dana?
So Dana, do you have any input on delegate or alternate?
I do not have any interest, so if you are interested, that's great.
Do we know anything about our, one that's not present tonight?
Janine, I can ask her tomorrow, Dr. Carter can ask her tomorrow, but I think we need to probably go ahead and make a motion tonight, or nominate somebody to go, or can it be, our timing here?
Can I make this motion?
Yes.
Mr. President, I move that we appoint yourself as the delegate, and Janine is the alternate delegate. I don't.
I think she's got a lot going on personally, she's got some issues going on, health-wise with her brother, so.
Oh, okay.
So I think her time is, pretty well divided up right now, from what I talked to her today. What's that?
I'll serve as the alternate.
You want to?
You'll serve as the alternate?
Oh, okay.
As the alternate.
Well, then I so move accordingly. That, Mr. President, you be the delegate and, who the doctor here be the alternative, to represent USD-457 at KSB's delegate assembly on November 6th at 11 a.m. at the KSB annual convention and virtually on December 16th at 5:30 p.m. That is my motion.
Did you say second? Okay. Motion's been made by Mark, seconded by Jennifer. All in favor, please say aye.
I,
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. Opposed? Thank you for the opportunity to serve as a delegate. And Dr. Andy to serve as the alternate.
Thank you for doing that.
Yes.
And I was being just a little bit rowdy, the person that's not here just nominated, that works.
I understand. I think I'm picking up mostly. Board of discussion, self-evaluation. Laura?
if you haven't signed up, you can still sign up to go to the KASP conference, and we're doing a breakout session on the Crystal Apple Awards. So Micah Bunch is gonna be going up as well, and Dr. Carlin, myself, I'm not sure, is Roy going to help with that?
I don't think he's gonna be attending.
Okay.
But put it together.
So I'm really excited about being a part of that and, letting other school districts know how we do it here in Garden City. So I believe that's it. Thank you.
Okay.
I continue to look forward to scheduling our retreat and following up with, our directive that we have some, ideas on our governance changes we might make. I think we were all assigned the idea that we would come up with 5 suggestions on how our governance might improve. And I look forward to the retreat that we're gonna have where we can throw all those ideas in the hat and have open communication and some nice positive collaboration on how we might improve our governance.
Dana?
I really don't have much. I can let you all know that the girls Garden City High School tennis team are your WAC champions. So that was so again, thanks to all who go above and beyond to coach or to get books or whatever the case may be. We have a lot of people in our district that counselors go above and beyond, and that's a wonderful thing. So
Thank
that is
you.
all.
Thank you. Jennifer?
Well, first I misspoke on the COVID. I meant county commission, not city. Written up later than I said that wrong. I know, make notes. I just want to give a shout out to the high school and the athletic department on homecoming Friday and the games. It was really neat to see a partnership between the middle schools and the high school and having the cheerleaders there from the middle school participating. I think that helped get more of the community out to our games to see the camaraderie between the students and the parents and the staff. And I just think there's been a lot of positive promotion coming from the high school level in that area. And I appreciate that because I know it's a lot of extra time and hard work from the athletic department office to coordinate all of that. So despite the drizzle and the cold wet, we did have a win, and it was just good to see everybody out again.
Not much, just, I really appreciate the high school report, put it in those terms. And it's really helpful to hear how the staff is adjusting to the current situation and trying to get our kids where they need to be for graduation, on or above grade level, so that's very helpful. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I think everybody's gonna, not only just in the school district, but everybody in general, out in the public is gonna be in a unique situation by the next 6 to 9 months, just of help and catching up and job status and all that stuff. So it's gonna be a very unique time for, I believe, all of us. Dr. Carter?
Just quickly to piggyback on Jennifer's comment about the rain, it seems like every time we have a home football game, we have rain, so I'm starting to get requests from farmers.
Yeah, we're thinking something more.
Yes, we meet with Coach Stone about when we can schedule those games. But in all seriousness, tonight you saw several examples of the dedication of different groups of employees, and I'm telling you, we see that everywhere. I think if you talk to most of our kids this year, they would tell you things are pretty normal. You know, we have a few classrooms that go yellow, or once in a while one of these red ones, but for the most part, our kids are getting a pretty normal school year. That's not happening by accident. There is a tremendous amount of work and effort going on by a whole lot of employees and dedicated staff members to make that happen. So just a huge shout out to them. And that's what I think our staff members are all happy to do that too, because that's what we all got into this profession to do. And so the COVID year was a real challenge for everybody. And so far, this year is, you know, we're not completely back to normal, but we're taking some really big steps in that direction. So that's really good to see.
It's my impression from feedback out there that I agree with that, but it's sort of a new normal in the circumstance that we're at. It's not like this was normal from years ago.
Right.
And I know that we as a board and as a body and even at the leadership level of the district have talked about, you know, basically springing forward from what we've learned. And it just seems like that's happening, but it's not without a whole lot of effort by the staff, and so I appreciate your comments, Dr. Carter.
The things I like to
There's about is, one is, I think, have we got all the board faculty sign up sheet? Is it full? If we can get that passed around again, there's probably a couple spots that I can sign up for that. And then, the matter of the consent agenda that got approved, as far as the construction that's gonna go on here. Did you explain, this is probably the last meeting we'll have in this board meeting?
I did not, so that's a good point. So with the HVAC project and the lighting project happening in this building, we haven't finalized the details, but we will plan on our next board meeting being held in the city commission chambers, and this one will be a city
Thanks,
commission.
you might have to clarify that for me when it gets closer.
So don't go to where you went to the county
Okay.
commission meeting.
Oh, I watched online, so I'm good.
So, and probably all of our board meetings through January will be held. We've got that scheduled with Matt Allen in the city, because this room will likely be one of the first rooms that's gonna be converted, but then it'll serve as temporary office space while we move throughout the rest of the building to get the lighting and the HVAC systems installed. So, if everything goes according to plan, sometime in January, we should be ready to get back into this room. Also, we should have our audio visual updates done kind of in tandem with that, so when we come back to the next meeting in this room, we should see the benefit of new lights. We will have to make some adjustments for our interactions with the public in this building, a little bit while this is going on, but this building doesn't close. We don't have time for this building to shut down, so we're taking a 3 to 4 month project and having to squeeze it in and kind of work around things.
Okay, that's all I have. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I so moved.
I'm sorry?
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The next board meeting of education will take place Monday, October 18th, 2021 at 6 p.m. in the City Commission Chamber at the City Administration Center, 301 North 8th Street, Carson, Kansas.
And so I still move.
Motion by Mark, second by Laura. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Dana.
Thank you.